Hello, my name is Nick Sparrow from the Lake Valley Ward in Owasso, Oklahoma with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want to welcome you back. So now I'm going to go through a non-1950 census indexing example and show you how to get started there. So I'm assuming you've already logged into Family Search. You've already gone to get involved and chose indexing. So that's where we're at now. Now, a couple things from the last video that I failed to mention that I just want to go through as a couple housekeeping items is when you do index the 1950 census, it is not going to add to these numbers here. You have to actually go to the 1950 census project itself to be able to see what you've done there. That may change in the future, but that's how it is right now. Another thing I wanted to point out is that the Lake Valley Ward group here, you don't actually have to click into here to have your indexing add to the ward total. You can just find a project from right here on your personal page, which is this first page. Here's your personal page. You can find a project here and just start indexing, and it'll add to the ward numbers without going into the ward group. However, for this example, I'm going to go ahead and go into the Lake Valley Ward. And the reason is because I wanted to tell you about the progress here. A couple more things, that these graphs, they aren't individualized at all. We can't tell, no one can tell that can come in here who did what. We just know that 366 records have been indexed in May, for instance. Or if I go down to a month, I can see that from the 29th to the 31st of May, 110 records have been indexed. That's all it's going to show. So you don't feel like anyone's going to be looking to see who did what. That's not the point of this at all. It's just a group goal as a ward for the quarter that we want to get to 1,000. So that's what this is. Now, if you come into the ward group, I added that beginning probate record indexing option, and so you can get to it from here, or you can just search for UK Principal Probate Registry, or click on beginning, like on the personal page. Let me just go back there. It'll probably make more sense. Let's just go back here. So from here, you can just go to find a project, click on beginning, and there's just this one here which you can index from there. You don't actually have to go into the ward, but I'm just going to do that to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and index this now, and this is a project we're going to go over. Now, a couple things I want to tell you about these projects is, I don't know if you noticed on my personal page, but it shows that I have indexed 217 now. It's because I did 16 records from this probate, trying to learn how to do it. I actually recorded it, and I was going to upload that as the video, but it took me a little while to go through that. And whenever you're going through some sort of new project, like each one of these are projects, every time you start a new project, it takes a little while to kind of get familiar with the project. And that very first batch that you do within the project, it's going to take considerably longer than it will take. So this is my second batch, and now I can kind of teach you because I've kind of drug my feet through some of the problems that I ran into, and I'll try to help you miss those, because I want you to be able to come in and have a good experience, do your first project or first batch, and not feel like it's overwhelming. So I'm going to go ahead and click index now. So that's what you do once you get to this point. And I want to show you a couple things. Okay, so first thing it's going to say is, should this be indexed? Okay. And I think because I did the other project, it already knows that I kind of looked at this. Normally it would pop up something here saying what it should look like and the things, but most of the fields within the batches, it'll say, should this image be indexed? And then it'll have a question mark here. So if I click on that, it's going to tell me a little bit about what the images should look like. And then that way I can know if I should index it. And actually, that just talks about this field in particular. This project instructions here will normally pop up when you first do it. I think because I already did it, it didn't pop up. But it's going to say what to index. It's going to give you an example of what it looks like. And so you can see that this looks a lot like that. But we can click into here, and it's going to give me kind of a closer up image. And yeah, okay, that looks pretty much like what we were looking at. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm in full screen here. I'm going to have to go out of full screen because it opens a separate tab to look at. Now, another thing it'll show is how do you index this record. It gives you two examples here. They're going to look like this. And it's going to go through each of the items that are going to be in the batch to index and explain, you know, what should be indexed and what relates to what. And I'm not going to go through this all, but if you're starting a new batch, you need to do this. And it takes a little while. Like I say, when you first go through a batch, it's going to take a little while, the very first one. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that because I'm going to do it as we go, and I'll explain what this explains. But some of the things you have to pay attention to are like how they do the places, like how do they do those names. That becomes pretty important, okay? Last surnames and given names and how to handle those. If you ever have questions, make sure you go back to the project instructions, and you can see that there's what to remember in this project, and there's a whole bunch of stuff here that you'll want to read. And even though I'm doing this for you, and I'm going to kind of summarize this so that you don't have to trudge through this, I would recommend maybe glancing through this real quick, just so you get an idea of what you need to read if you're starting one that someone hasn't helped you with, like I am right now. You need to read through all this and kind of have an idea. And a lot of times it's so much that you're not going to remember everything. Like when I just did that batch before, I had to come back to this project instructions and read a couple different things like 4 or 5 or 6 times because I couldn't remember exactly what they had said. There's an additional information here as well, and you can see that it's quite long. And some of this is generic and some of it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. One thing it does tell you is that you can click on this little button here next to your image, and you can rotate it if needed. In this case, we're not going to need to. You can also invert it. Sometimes that makes it easier to read. We won't need to for this project, and you can change the brightness and contrast as well. And actually on this one, I might brighten it up just a little right there. Okay. And then you have to click this button again to get that to turn away and hit apply here. Okay, so should this be indexed? Yeah, it looks like something that should be indexed. So I'm going to hit next. And I want to emphasize that when you do this, you're going to feel a little overwhelmed. It's going to feel like a lot to try to take in. Just start going and get through it as far as you can, and do the best you can. And so there's somebody that's going to come after you and that's going to review it. And so you don't have to get it perfect. You should try to get it as close as you can, but don't let that stop you from doing it. Okay. So it's saying that it thinks there might be 30 entries, but I can see that there's not 30 entries. And so there's going to have to be some I'll have to delete at the end, and I'll show you that. Now, if you use your scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in, or you can use the plus and minuses here. So especially since I'm trying to show this to you, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And you can see that there's a record here at the top that is from the previous page. So we're not going to do that one. We're going to start with this one here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it to the top, and I would recommend as you go through each record, just kind of move it up to the top like this, so that you can keep track of where you are and so you don't accidentally duplicate something. All right, so when you go through to index, you're going to see that there's a little question mark on each of these boxes as you click through here. And that'll give you some hints as to what's supposed to go in there. Now, at this point, you should have already read the project instructions, so you'll have an idea. But even after reading that, once again, because it's so much information, you'll probably have to remind yourself. I had to quite a bit on the first round of these probate records. And also, if there's not an answer in here for this specific field, it's not real clear, then you can go back to the bottom of this and go to project instructions, and it'll show you the information there. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back into full screen here. Okay, so project instructions, we'll just bring up that project instruction window that I showed you at the first, that you can go and look at the examples, you can read the what to remember and all that kind of stuff. And I had to go to this multiple times, so don't be afraid to do that. Okay, so how you're going to index this, because I'm hoping that you'll go ahead and index one of these probate records, because they're actually not that bad. So what you're going to do is, you know that this one is 1888, okay? So that's going to be your probate year, okay? So we're just going to remember 1888, and then I'm going to move this up right there. Okay, so 1888, and you're just going to type in here, and then you'll hit tab. The probate day is the 4th, so I'm going to put 4, and then the month is May, M-A-Y. And when you're in these fields, if you just type, it's going to be a 3-digit month for each of the dates. It's always going to be a 3-digit month. So May only has 3 digits, but once you type the first 3 digits of the month, you can just hit tab and it will go on to the next field. The deceased surname is going to be the last name, so Dyson in this case. Okay, and then the given names is going to be any of the names here. Now they might have a suffix or something, but you can see there's not even a field for that. So we're just going to put in the given names, which would be the first name and the middle name if they have a middle name, or middle names in that case. Joseph, okay. And then residence place. So in these records, it'll say the will of Joseph Dyson, late of Paddock near Huddersfield in County of York. Okay, so the place of residence, you only put that if it actually says where they are residing, and sometimes they don't, but in this case it's saying that he lived near Huddersfield in the County of York. So near Huddersfield isn't really a place, so we're just going to put York for the place. Okay, York. Well, you know what? I'll let whoever's the reviewer decide if they want to take off. I'm gonna go ahead and put Huddersfield in here, in York. You don't need to put United Kingdom, because if you go back to the project instructions, the examples don't put in United Kingdom. They end at the county. So I'm gonna put York, and then you'll see that it says stonemason after York. So that's the occupation, and it's capitalized. So sometimes if it's an odd occupation, it might feel like it's part of the county name, but the county name is generally bolded like this. Okay, and then the second bold is generally the court, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to hit tab, and then the death date. So who died 28th of February, so 28th is the day. The month is FEB, February, and then I can just hit tab. And the death year is 1888. Now, sometimes the death year is not going to match the probate year. So make sure you don't assume the date here as you start going faster. Okay, now the court, actually I'm going to click on this because I think it's pretty useful. So type the name of the court as it is written. Do not correct misspellings or expand abbreviations. And that's one thing to point out for this project, and it's in the project instructions. They don't want you to expand any abbreviations. In some old documents, you'll see like William abbreviated WM, and everyone knows that that's William. Well, not everyone, but people who've done indexing for a while know that that's William. Some projects will say to expand abbreviations that are known, and others will say not, and most of them say not to. So in this case, we're not going to expand abbreviations. But what I wanted to show you is that the court is usually the second place name written in bold. So you can see that this was the first one in bold. This is the second one in bold in the entry, and is typically preceded by one of the following phrases: probated at, proved at, granted at, or sealed at. Okay. It says the principal registry is not the name of the court. Okay. Do not assume the name of the court from the information. So if it says principal registry, we're not going to do that. Okay. We just want to, well, let me read this. If the court was not recorded or was written as a variation of unknown, then just do Control B for blank. Okay, so in this case, it's proved at. So that was one of those phrases, the key phrases, and then the bold. So we're going to put Wakefield. Okay, and in the examples, all they put is Wakefield, even though you'll see some counties mentioned here and such. All they put is the bolded name. And let me just show you that. So I'm going to go back to the project instructions. I'm going to go down to, I think it's this example here. Let's see. Yeah, so granted at Manchester, and all you get for the court is Manchester. Okay. And I've actually got to go out of full screen again. Maybe it was this one. All right. Okay. So this one says was granted at the principal registry. And they're saying you don't want to put principal registry. So in this case, you would do Control B for blank. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I just wanted to point that out to you and close this project instructions and go back to full screen. Okay. So county is always going to be blank in this project. Okay. You'll just always put blank. And as soon as you put that last one blank, once all the fields are filled, it's going to go to the next entry. So you can see I'm on entry 2 of 30. Okay. I'm going to do a few of these with you so you can kind of see the flow. And then I'll skip forward and we'll show you the end. All right. So the probate year, once again, is 1888. That's from the top of this document. The day is 11 right here. And then February, FEB. And I would recommend just type lowercase because it's going to capitalize it for you. And then you just hit tab. And deceased surname is Dyson. And you don't actually have to capitalize these because it's going to do it automatically. See that? Dyson. And then the given names, Lara. And I'm typing all in lowercase, but it's putting that capital for me. Space, and then Sophia. And it put that capital S for me as well. So you can just stay in lowercase. You don't have to worry about that. All right, so those are her given names. And place of residence. So she's of Wickham Market in the county of Suffolk. Okay, so Wicket Market. That's going to be her place. Wickham Market. And then you put a comma in between the place and the county, or the town and the county. Suffolk. Sometimes you'll see in these United Kingdom records that they'll have a what do they call it? It's like a township, like a town, and then it's not township, but it's something like that, and then county. I don't know exactly what you're supposed to do in that case, but I would recommend putting that middle piece of it in there and let somebody else take that out that may know more about this than us. I'm just trying to see if there's an example here that has that. There's not very many in here, so maybe there won't be. Yeah, I don't see that. Anyway, you may run into that, so just be aware of that. All right, let's see. I was on Sophia. All right, so her death day was the 2nd of January, 2 of Jan. And I'm just hitting tab in between 1888 for her. Whoops, not too many 8s there. Court. So that's going to be proved at. So Ipswich. Okay, and then the county, I'm just going to do Control B for blank. And then you can see it's gone onto the third one. And I'm going to move this up so I can stay organized here. And we're going to do probate years 1888 from the top of the document. Probate day is the 5th, and then it's March. And surname is Dyson. And Mary. And let's see. Lay of Hill Morton in the county of Warwick. And so some town, and that looks like a misspelling, but we're going to spell it just as it's misspelled. I think there's supposed to be an I there. But you're always, in this project, it says to not correct any misspellings. So we're going to put, and also you don't put a residence unless it says of, and it shows kind of where they lived. So you do Control B if it didn't have that. So we're going to put Hill Morton, comma, and Warwick, and we're not going to put the I. Also, when you're doing place names, and if you clicked on this, it would tell you this, but you're going to put the smallest thing and then the county second, or if there's a township in between or whatever, then you would put the town, the township, and the county. All right. Death day is 18 February of 1888. And proved at, and then it's Birmingham. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Birmingham. Once again, if it says principal registry, you would just do Control B here. And then for county, we're just going to do Control B. All right. So then we've got 1888. And I think at this point, I'm going to let you watch me do this, but I'm not going to do any narration unless there's something that makes sense, and I'll try to speed it up so that you don't have to sit here and watch me the whole time, but I might run into something that I'll want to point out. Okay, I'm going to just point out something here real quick. So see how this says late of Farnworth near Bolton? Near Bolton is not a place, so it's going to be Farnworth, comma, Lancaster for the county. So that's what I put there. Here's another thing I want to point out is that, like this one says 177 Compton, Buildings, St. James, Clerkenwell in the county of Middlesex. So I'm not sure exactly what is the town, but I do know that 177 Compton it sounds like a street. So that's not going to be part of this address. This is just going to be the town and the county. I'm not sure if it's St. James, Clerkenwell, Compton Buildings, St. James, Clerkenwell in the county of Middlesex. So I'm not going to bore you with this, but I'm actually going to go look. Well, this is a while ago. I think I'm going to go with Clerkenwell as the town, and then Middlesex. Clerkenwell. All right. Because I think St. James might be referring to like the buildings or like an institution of some sort. And here's one of the principal registry ones. So it's going to just be blank. So Control B, and then the county's Control B always. The county's Control B. So for this project. And that's just based on those examples that they had in the project instructions. Another thing I might mention is that just double check your spellings, that you didn't type something wrong, especially with these names that are a little odd. It's easy to make a mistake, and just kind of looking back after you hit enter just to make sure you got it right is a good idea. And if you use the tab on your keyboard, you can kind of just keep your hands on the keyboard for most of this, which makes it go quite a bit faster. Oh, one other tip I'll give you is, like, say you get ahead of yourself and you type April and then you hit tab. Oh, that's a bad example. Let's see, November. Since I already put something in here, it's not going to let me. Let's see if I can clear this out. Nope. So, okay, so if I type like June all the way out or something that doesn't match, well, since I already put April in there, once I put that in there. But if you type more than what the 3 letters are and you hit tab, it's going to leave this blank. And to go back up, if you want to keep your hands on the keyboard, because it's faster than going over and clicking, if you want to get used to that, instead of coming over here and clicking up, say it's here and you need to go back, if you just hold down shift and tab, it'll take you back. Just like tab will take you forward, shift tab will take you back. So there's an example right there. So I didn't get April all the way in, so I can do shift tab and then try again. Now here's an interesting example. I'm not actually sure what it's doing here. Eugene August Woldemer. So from here it looked kind of weird, but when I look, I think that's just combining those 2 lines. When I look over here, you can see Eugene August Woldemer Dezandi. So I think that's the full name. I'm just going to go ahead and put that as the given names, all of that. Because there are sometimes when they throw maiden names and such in here, and then it becomes a little more confusing. And there is stuff in the project instructions about that, and there might be some in here in this question mark as well. But I'm going to go ahead and do it that way. And we're just finishing up here. So it says formerly of this location, but late of this location. So I'm actually not sure. I mean, I guess that's where they're living. I think this is just going to be wherever they were living when they died. Let's see. It's not clear in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go with but of late. Unter den Linden 61 Berlin, both in Germany. I'm going to go with the, and I don't know why there's a number after. Well, yeah, city would be Berlin. So we're just going to go with Berlin. Germany, I guess. We'll let the reviewer make any additions to that if needed. Death was the 25th of May. Whoops, 25 May 1887. So you can see that that's one where it's a little bit, it's not 1888. Okay, so 1887. Principal register, so it's going to be a control B and a control B. Okay, so now we're done. And what we're going to do is, you can see there's 20 more that aren't in here, and they're not part of this record, okay? There's nothing over here to the right. I'm not missing anything. And it looks like these are just coming from over here, maybe? I'm not sure, but there appears to be nothing there. All right, so what you have to do now is get rid of the rest of these. So if I hit send, because that's how you send your batches, so I just click on that. It's going to say, hey, you got to run this quality check, so I'm going to do that. And then it says probate year, this field is missing, and it's taking me to number 10, which I don't have 10 of them. I only have 9. So you can see all these are blank. So it's not like I just, because it'll flag if you miss like one field within a section and you filled everything out. But you can see that I didn't fill out anything here. So this is my last record. It's blank, and everything after that's going to be blank. So I'm going to say accept. Okay. Oh, sorry. It wanted to make that blank. That is not what I want to do. I actually want to hit delete here. And then it says, which entry do you want to delete? The current entry, which would just be the one I'm on. But I want to do all blank entries. So I'm going to hit delete. And now you can see it took all those 10 to 30 out. And now I'm back down to just the 9. And then it's going to check, and it's going to say, oh, there's no issues. And I'm going to submit the batch. It'll give you some confetti and make you feel like, oh yeah, I got something done here. So it also will give you similar batches. Now in this case, the similar batch is doing the same thing I've already done. And once again, I want to emphasize, do more than one of the same project, because it becomes so much easier and you can do a lot more indexing than than the first time. And if everyone's only doing one batch, it's going to take 2 or 3 times as long as doing the second and third and fourth batch. And as you go, you're going to just get faster. So I think this batch being my second batch, it took at a minimum half the time, and it will probably be even less than that. I think I can probably do a batch. Now this one didn't have a full page on the second page, but I could probably do a full batch if I'm not trying to teach anything. Probably in, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe 15 minutes. So you can kind of plan on that when you go to do it, maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do your first batch, and then 15 or 10 to 15 for following batches. But this is a great opportunity. It's easy to read. This is easy to do. I would highly recommend taking your time and doing some of this. Memorial Day's tomorrow, so that's a great time to remember our dead by helping index records so that people can find them. And I think that's about it. You'll see that my total updated from, I think it was 217, so now it's 226. And if we go down here to the month, you can see that I had 49 from the first part of the month, and now I've gone up to 74 with those 2 batches I did in trying to get this video put together. Hopefully that's helpful for you, and I'll talk to you later.